You know, my grandpa, my grandpa Redden, if he'd been alive today, he would have raised a lot of hell. Let me explain. There's people comes here and puts dime after dime. I'm talking about the same people. Dime after dime after dime into the copy machine. And my grandpa was a no bullshit guy. He hated to see anybody throw money away. And he hated a lazy mind. If you had a lazy mind, he basically cussed you out. He didn't like that laziness in the mind. Basically, now if I would done that, if I would be sticking dimes into that copier, you know what he would tell me? And I quote, "Get your ass down here in Loveland to the Salvation Army and keep checking back to see if they have any copy machines." You can plug them in case you don't know this, you can plug it in down there to make sure they work. They remodeled, I'm saying the Salvation Army, can't think of it now. But anyway, the Goodwill, sorry, Goodwill. They remodeled it and they got nice plug-ins now. Real nice store. They went up a little bit on their prices to compensate. But you can plug his stuff in to see if it works. Or you go to Walmart. Now here's where he'd get real mad. Let's say you may excuse, well, Grandpa can't afford it. Then he would raise, if he seen me, I was driving a decent car, here's what he'd say to me. Well, he cussed a lot. GD, I'll use blank blank. He'd say, "You're driving a blankety, don't give me that BS. You're driving a blankety blank car. You ain't enough blankety blank common sense to go to the store, check Goodwill, and get you a copier. In the long run, you'll save some money." My grandpa Redden was a no BS guy. He did not take bullshit, period. He was orphaned. And, he had a miserable, that's just the way he was. He had no mom or dad growing up. His mom died when he was 7. But his voice carried 20 miles. Real loudmouth guy. I remember as a kid being nervous around him. But, he hated lazy mind. God, he hated that. He was worked by yes. Now, what would he say about me today being on the computer? He would probably say I'm very smart. Once he's seen the knowledge you can gain from something, whatever it is, as long as you're gaining knowledge, he'd be all for it. Now let's assume for 1 minute that you're not gaining nothing on television because television, I'm not talking about smart television, because television is not interactive. What would he say about that? Well, when I was growing up, very rarely did he ever have the television on. But if you didn't gain from something, he raised hell over it. He didn't like you losing. But being on the computer, now, let's say I've had people to tell me, why do you spend all day on a computer? Here's what he would, if he heard you tell me that, here's what he'd tell you. Because he's smarter than you are. He's gaining from it. It's called interactive. And he would basically call you a dumbass. And just the way he was, and he's afraid of nobody. He'd be the first one to tell you step outside. After he beat you, then he would feed you. That's just the way my grandpa Redden was. He had a heart of gold. He'd do anything for you. But he did not like a lazy brain, period. I can remember him raising hell. He once raised hell over my dad. Over mechanical stuff. My dad says, "Well, you should do it this way." I never will forget this in the garage. I was about 11 years old. Dad says, "You should go this way. Wouldn't it be easier?" And Grandpa just raised hell. "No, it's not easier." GD, I mean, just cussing. He said, "I'm doing it that way." If you go that way, you have less chances of failure. But Dad couldn't see that. But he just cussed Dad, man. I'll never forget that. Raised all kind of hell. He had a big mouth. But he's doing it for my dad's good. Basically, what he's telling my dad, you dumbass, can't you see you're doing it wrong? And it'll take longer doing it this way, but I'll gain. I'll tell you what it was. He did it twice. I know it was a federal offense, But he took odometers back in the 70s when I was a kid. I remember twice he took odometers out of the old analog odometers and ran them forward to cheat the mileage. So when he take a trade in, the salesperson would think they're getting they give him more for the trade in value. He did that twice I know of. But Dad said, well, don't you do it quicker? And Grandpa said, no, it'll blank up the tumblers in it. You got to do it this way because they can't detect it as easy. But he just did not like a lazy brain. A lot of the people who comes to the library has a lazy brain. In other words, they don't think. Boy, he didn't like that at all. But if he seen me putting dimes into this machine, like a lot of people do here, I got cussed out by him. I basically he would tell me, get off my lazy ass, and I'm quoting here, get off your lazy ass and either go to Goodwill or go to your Walmart and buy you a damn copier because it'll pay you in the long run. My grandpa was for the long run. Yeah, he would have raised hell if he seen me not using my brain, period.